Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Get me a 7 of limes. I'm your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have
Clyde Haynes, a smuggler? Yeah, I could see it.
And your ODing brain, pause to touch it. Yeah, I knew no one was gonna say that. No one was gonna say that. I knew that was gonna be an original.
That is all you, Paul. Much like it is always all you, Paul. Tonight we are discussing Erigah, directed by John Dukowski, written by M. Raven Metzner. Just a couple of pieces of housekeeping before we get into some hot thoughts, some spicy ponderings. To be determined what the last of that will be. I was like, oh, I don't want to give it away all the way.
It sounds like, Myrriah, you too have OD'd. A full day of stimulants.
A full day of stimulants straight into my veins. Paul, how can people find ways to connect with us on the internet?
Hey, maybe you guys want to subscribe to our podcast at Apple, Spotify, YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love our content, and I know you do, perhaps consider becoming a Patreon person for just $2 per episode at patreon.com/StarTrekPod.
A patron, if you will.
Oh, is that where it's from? Is patron on? Oh,
being good. A patron for the arts.
There we go.
I've heard some people say Patreon, but I think it's patron, but that's just me. Yes. But Clyde, if people want to tell us their spicy thoughts, their interesting ponderings, their meandering musings, how should they contact us this evening during the live stream?
Well, if you really have something that you want to say, especially if it's spicy, just head over to that Reddit After Dark. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't go there. Don't do that.
That's a whole nother pod about other stuff. No. If you want to interact with us live and you're on YouTube, then just type capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod in the chat, and we'll take a look. Your thought, your musing, your spicy nugget of information. And in a moment, we will ask you about your general thoughts of the show. So just type in capital H, capital F, capital HF into the chat. And we'll take a look at your spicy informational nuggets.
Yeah, we'll do it. Let's jump right on in. I think it's time. Let's go.
For the record, Fantastic Four, very underrated movie. Not.
I don't know if I saw it, but I don't remember it. So maybe
exactly right. But Fantastic the hot freak meme, fantastic.
Fantastic Four was okay. I think Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer, less cohesive.
Less cohesive. Let's get into some hot freaks.
Hot drakes.
Clyde, what do you think of this episode?
I loved it. Last week I mentioned that it wasn't my favorite episode. This was really like, okay, now we're back in it. You've got an altercation with the brain. You've got, trauma from past civilizations. You've got Trina, who, can I just say, she is a straight up boss. Like, I really like the way she handled herself this week.
Serena is like,
I got like, she's amazing. Like, so you had a lot of stuff going on here, but I will say, and this is going to be definitely a hot freak. I'm getting a little tired of Book's nonsense, so it's wearing a little thin on me. Like, get it together, my man. Get it together.
Paul, what's your hot freak?
I thought I had a really good time. Like, I think the thing that I've always had a problem with is I just don't believe the love story between the two of them, or I don't like them, or
she
something
had tears.
Yeah. Oh wow. You're right. You're right. Right. Because crying makes it all better. Like I really like the fight sequence. I like it was shot very interestingly.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
But in the end, like, I basically watch it and I go like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore the fact that I don't necessarily like these two characters or where they fit. If I can just like divorce that, I'm fine.
All right. I enjoyed this episode. I'm Yum Yum. Nana's back. I thought it was a fun return. I don't understand why we don't have our normal bridge crew. I don't care about them bringing the Enterprise back. I just want them back. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I want to dive into the fight choreography and the way that particular scene was shot with y'all in just a bit. But overall, I enjoyed this episode. It reminded me a lot of Deep Space Nine. I was like, I'm ready for Disco Deep Space Nine. So give it to me. Yeah, we shall see how it all wraps out. But that's my top line hot freak. I liked it. There's things I liked. There's things I found interesting. And I think it is a strong first episode into our like true back half of the season and kind of the forward momentum push.
Mhm.
So
How many episodes this season? Is it
10? Yeah,
there's only
three
three
more.
more.
Yeah, it's short.
So okay.
Yeah, Myrriah, I will say, like you, when she started asking, "Can you set a course?" and I'm looking at these new bridge crew, I'm just looking at them going, "Not Detmer, not Owo."
Yeah.
And I'm a little not happy about it. Like,
I'm like, I mean, good for them if they've been like booked and busy and they just weren't available. Like, I get that happens a lot with shows, but I feel like it happens less often with these like way more seasonal shows than it does with like, more of the always on model. But we do have a message from the menagerie from our patrons. Kuhn says, I'm feeling a lot better about the rest of the season than I did after the last episode. I loved the politics of the 32nd century and now a race against the Breen in the final 3 episodes. I really want to think that Jet was smuggling books for Pelia. Which I'm also very excited about. But I wanted to kind of like dive in. I was doing some research about how many parallels there are and like connections to Deep Space Nine that this season's really cemented.
Okay.
And kind of starting with Culber's research into the Breen and the Dominion War, because to me, there's a bit of a dissonance between Culber being like, they don't have much more information, but then Rayner gives this like pretty compelling backstory of how his planet was like essentially run by the Breen as like a hostile colony. And so I wanted to see what y'all think about the fact that we've jumped 900 years and somehow we still have just as much information as we had when we left the Dominion War.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like, if you're an advanced society and you don't want to, and you're xenophobic, I think that's what happens, right? Like, it's not the Federation goes and goes, oh, well, you have to talk to us now. We're extroverts.
Yeah. And then I guess with the collapse of the Federation as well, it limits their resources.
And all, and all the lithium got turned off for a century or so. So like, I think I find it fine that they don't know anymore. I do like I said before, my biggest issue with the Breen, the way they're rendered, is that they had really cool ships in Deep Space Nine that were crazy. And although the Dreadnought was crazy big, it just looked like a big gun. And like I could see that, as opposed to the departure from in Deep Space Nine, where you go like, is that a ship or is that just a bunch of junk that just kind of got smashed together? So anyway, so as far as like them not knowing anything about the Breen, I do get it. Like, I can see that. Like my favorite, part, when that, like, never turn your back on the Breen. That was like said in Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
And go Romulans. And then Trina goes like, no need to be racist.
Yeah, I mean, I accepted it. Like, did something on the back of my neck stand up a little bit? Yeah. And I just kind of said, I accept it. Like, you don't know anything. I assume, much like Paul said, that between the lack of the lithium, due to the burn, due to their being xenophobic, and ultimately a more powerful race, they really, it's not like you're really trying to go look for them, right? Like, you're really, especially if you're resource strapped. So I kind of felt like, all right, they're secretive. This is not the first secretive like race that we have. We're dealing with the Gorn on Strange New Worlds, right? So likewise, we don't know much about them. So yeah, I kind of said I'll accept it. I won't push too far in that.
Myrriah, how did you feel about it?
I mean, at first it rubbed me a little bit, but then I felt better after Rayner's explanation, because to me it did kind of set it up as like, oh, we've never had any diplomatic exchanges with this particular group of people, which then would not really allow for the sharing of scientific information, So at first I was just like, come on. And then I was like, well, okay. And that was kind of my arc on feelings about it, this particular episode. And I think it'll be, yeah, I'm just always like interested in how, and it might just be because we live in like a society where it's deemed acceptable to have like human remains at like museums and things like that. It's just like one of those things where we study archaeology, we study like human history in this like very particular way. And so I'm just like, oh, is a Breen never died like on another planet and we've like examined their body or again, I'm overthinking. It's like
They have no blood.
they have no blood, they wear cooling suits, they are somehow both solid and a liquid and a gas.
And like one of my favorite lines in Deep Space Nine is like Wayun goes like, "Oh, you'd think with them in their refrigeration suits that their planet would be cold and inhospitable." And Damar goes, "It's not." And it goes, "No, it's actually quite lovely. Just another mystery about the Breen."
Just another mystery about the Breen. They're staying mysterious. Kim brings up another point. At least we know more about relations with the Breens in the 32nd century than we do about the Klingons. It is wild that we started with the Klingon War and we still have not gotten an update with them at all, going into the final season. But
I imagine, imagine what would happen to the Klingons. Here's this warrior race, and all of a sudden, there's no
war to be had.
There's no there's no dilithium. And so
I'm sure they're doing a great job of fighting with each other.
maybe
Potentially. So the last time we've seen the Breen attack Starfleet headquarters in history was in The Changing Face of Evil from Deep Space Nine. It's when they nearly destroy all of San Francisco. So I thought that was like an interesting nod to Tilly being like, oh, I have to get to Starfleet headquarters because like this is what happened sort of the last time. I thought that was a nice little tip there, to like how she's viewing her role at the academy. And then we do find out that the next clue is entitled Labyrinths of the Mind, which as soon as it said it, I'm just like, I guess because I just associate David Bowie with all space travel. I was just like, I just went to the movie Labyrinth and I was like, do we, in my wild world, the next episode is a full puppet sing-along episode.
There you go. There's Myrriah, everyone.
Because it reminds me of a babe.
No, I got it.
Yes. The power of voodoo.
Yes.
Hoodoo, you do. Anyway.
You're not going to get me singing Labyrinth songs on the pod tonight.
Aw,
I may be, but I'm not that loopy. But I do love that movie.
It would have been cool. I feel like I tried to look it up and David Bowie never guested on Star Trek. And that feels like such a lost moment to time. That would have been epic, in my mind, at least. I digress. Bye, Clyde. Okay. BRB. He'll be right back. Got it. Okay. Clyde has to make a visit to, the Red's bar to pull something out of the oven. Which brings me to the clue was written by Dr. Marina Dirtex, which is obviously some sort of a reference, I'm assuming, to Marina Desertis.
Sure, close enough.
Close enough. And what's interesting is they have said that the book was written in 2371. Do you know what else happened in 2371, Paul?
I don't, Myrriah. What happened?
It is the same year the USS Voyager left Deep Space Nine for the Badlands. And guess where we're going next episode?
Oh, I guess we're going to the Badlands?
We are going to the Badlands.
Yeah.
Is Discovery going to jump into a wormhole?
Like it's funny because if it does, it doesn't matter because Discovery could just jump back.
That's true. I guess they could. They could just jump back. Yeah, 2371 was a busy year in Star Trek history. It's also the year that Thomas Riker stole the USS Defiant from
Oh.
Deep Space Nine. It's also the year the USS Enterprise D crash landed the saucer on Davridian 3 in Star Trek Generations, which means it's also the same year that time displaced Captain Kirk was killed. Big year.
Big year.
It's a lot.
Big-
That's a
big-
lot.
It's a lot. 2371. It's a lot for that book to have been written there. It's also the Badlands is also close to Cardassian space, so I'm wondering if we get a full Dominion War regrouping and we get to see some Cardassians next episode. What would be your thoughts on that?
I don't think the Dominion are like even a factor nowadays, right? Would they?
But what if they just decide, like, hey, let's like just like we love a reboot.
Yeah, but like but then
We
like
do.
they'd have to go through the wormhole, assuming that it's still there. And
Mhm.
more importantly, like if they did bring it back, like I would like to see where Odo is, because Odo is would still be alive theoretically, and although the actor is not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Renee.
So, yeah.
Yep.
That would be pretty wild if it's like they cast someone to. What if it like they just get Doug Jones to play old Odo, and that's why we haven't seen him as Saru for the entire season.
There you go.
So, I mean, the coolest thing is if we got a Cisco like cameo somehow. That would be kind of cool. But
yeah, like a hollow or something.
Yeah, but I you mentioned Doug Jones, and we just talked about Detmer and Owo. For the final season of Discovery.
This is why, to me, it's obvious they did not know this was going to be the final season, because I feel like you don't do this to your cast if it's your final season.
Or you just do it to your cast. You're like, oh, it's our final season. We don't have enough money, so let's just like cancel everyone's contract that we don't have to.
It does feel I feel like I can feel some budget restraint in this season.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they are. I mean, they're going all out to set up this Academy spinoff. I mean, Tilly talks about the Academy like every week.
Yeah. That is true. What did you? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna say, like, one of the people who's still on there is Reese, right? Reese is still around.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is, like, I was watching episodes of Deep Space Nine, and there was the episode where what's his name? He betrays Cisco, but like his second in command is an Asian guy named Reese. And so I go like, oh, is that your like nephew?
great grandson.
I don't know a lot of Asian guys named Reese.
Well, it would be interesting because technically Reese came
before
first, and then it's like, that's
and so they used it again, like they recycled a name that's kind of weird for, because it's just very, what's the word I want to use? It's noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I do really enjoy Tilly, Adira, and Reno. I think that was like I kind of in all of the promo images for this episode, in my mind, this was going to be a way heavier, like those three solving a puzzle episode, and that got me very excited. And I think set the expectation too high in my brain for it to just be kind of our B plot of the episode, but I really enjoyed the little walk around ship and getting to know Reno in a very fun way. What did you all think of Reno's resume, if you will?
I mean, again, to say what we just said, it kind of sort of sucks. And the reason why I say it sucks is because it's amazing. Like, Reno is clearly one of the more interesting characters on the entire ship. Right. And so what they've done is they've just given us this thread to pull. And you're like, okay, so now you're that character who has this incredible background, that all this stuff. Like, that's fantastic. And there are 3 episodes left.
I know. I hope Reno gets to be something in the Academy, because I was really hoping this was going to be a Tilly, Reno, Adira go off the ship to like find a clue as that was getting set up. And then when it did not happen, I was very sad.
What about Adira going to Academy? Like, when I was looking at them, I was like, I wonder.
Yeah, I think it would make sense that maybe they had that way. But to recap all of Reno's incredible jobs, it includes a VP shuttle pilot, a deep mercury welder, a bartender on Ashlon 4, a smuggler moving hard to find folios for a shady antiquarian archivist. That's a really hard thing to say. And then, padded their resume a bit as a rare antiquarian bookseller. Pretty fun.
Yeah, no, she's good. Like,
And then was going to go pick up a bar shift at Red's.
Yeah, she's based. Yeah,
Go ahead,
she's basically
Paul.
the Paul Satachet of of
it's
funny.
feeling like the Paul Satachet of the season.
I was gonna say she's kind of the Han Solo of Discovery, but Paul Satachet's another way to go.
Well, like it's all the same. It's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you both kind of mentioned like the lock and ball of it all. We do get a quick like they've been captured. Book tries to get in but doesn't, which I think is for the best because Book, to your point, has been messing around a little too much. And they sort of hatch like a very half thought out plan to try to break out of Discovery. But what did you think of how, I think we all knew eventually one of them had to die. What did you think of this kind of culmination of their relationship?
I didn't at this point. Like it's just like really, like they're at this point where Burnham has basically gotten, partially their freedom, right? Like they're not being chased by the Breen anymore. She's hatched this incredible idea to give them some breathing room. And in that moment, he accidentally kills himself. Like that just sucks.
But he didn't know that.
He didn't know that. But it's one of those things where they keep saying, just give us a chance, just stay here. And because of the trauma that they've had and their past experiences, they just can't trust anyone except each other. So it's unfortunate. Like I kind of wanted to see what happened. This is an interesting way to go. It's definitely, if you only got 3 more episodes, this is going to move the plot along significantly faster. But overall, I thought it was good and interesting, and I'm fascinated to see what happens next. And then the fight scene was amazing.
Yeah, let's talk about that fight scene. I maybe in a controversial take, I don't think I liked the way it was shot.
That's a valid way to say it.
Speak more. Say more on that. Like what did you like about it?
Do y'all remember that movie? Like it reminded me of like Snatch or like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like it's a very particular way to shoot a fight. And I didn't think it worked with the way the fight was choreographed. I think when you shoot something with those like pull out moments, you want it to be on like a moment of impact, a punch. But most like TV fight sequences aren't shot for that. They're shot for like, it's like a dance. And so I felt like the camera was breaking the momentum that was set up in the dance of the fights. Does that make sense?
Sounds like to me that you don't support women.
I mean, that my problem was I love when it's like women kicking ass. That's my favorite genre of movie. And like, I just think back to like the way fight sequences were shot when like Michelle Yeoh was on set and like how fluid that usually always felt and the way the camera would follow those motions. And 100%. This felt like it just felt so
choppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like for me, what was I going to say? You guys remember a TV show called Smallville?
Yes.
Okay, so Smallville had this really interesting thing after season 5, where after season 5, they realized, oh, we're on Fridays, and the internet is not really that much of a thing quite yet. And people are going to watch this regardless because they have nowhere to go. Our demographic has nothing to do other than to watch Smallville on Friday. So in that way, like they deviated from what typically is a formula for a TV show where you go, here is the style and here is the blah blah blah. Somewhere around season 5, they go, well, let's make it like Saw, and so they just shoot it like Saw, and then they go, oh, let's shoot it like Pulp Fiction. And they shoot it like they because it didn't matter
because people are going to watch it anyway.
Exactly. They knew they were locked in, so they just kept on writing whatever they wanted and whatever style they wanted. Because, in fact, you could say that they were trying to be more current because, like, oh, this is popular now, let's just copy it. And so I felt like in this particular episode, the fight sequence was done in some ways. Like, this would work very well with a horror movie, like, where like the monster is attacking you and stuff like that, and they go like, oh well, we'll do this. This is our last season. What does it matter?
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting to me because the director comes from editing, and so I usually really love directors who come from editing because I think they do a really good job of having like concise, like they tell the most amount of story in the scene as possible. And I usually really enjoy that about directors who come from editing. And I think to me, the biggest issue I had with it was that whole sequence felt so disconnected from the rest of like nothing else about the episode paralleled that style choice. And like, I enjoy when people take big swings. I just thought this was a big swing and didn't quite like hit for me personally.
Yeah. But imagine if you're like an editor given your chance to direct an episode.
He's directed other episodes.
Well, then this line of thinking is not going to work.
I think for me there were a couple things that just was a little bit off for me. One is I didn't quite feel choppy when I watched it, but what I did notice was there was a lack of continuity. Like when Culber is shot, we don't see him again until he's standing up trying to save.
Like I'm not following the story of the fight.
He fell into the Arctic mist.
Right, but what happens to him? I think what I was expecting is like some type of trail off shot to see him laying on the ground or moving or something, like something to tell us.
Well, like he was dead, and then he went back to the mycelial network, and like he got resurrected again, and this time he was cool about it because like I've done this already.
But that's the thing, though, Paul. Like my first thought was, is he dead? And so because you've killed him before, right? Like you almost want to let your audience know he's not dead by showing him again moving or struggling or something. And
I see that.
And the other thing for me was, I thought it was an interesting choice. You bring Nan back onto the ship as the big bag security person, and immediately she gets her butt kicked.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. Like, like this is why I don't like these two characters.
I was expecting her to like cold cock Maul right in the nose and drop her,
or to like have a bigger victory moment before maybe getting like a fake out or something. Something that felt a little more clever.
I don't know. I don't like when stupid people succeed. I feel like Maul and Locke are
really stupid. Don't like these two.
I don't like, what do you like about them as far as like people, like, or like,
I mean, I think that they are compelling in the way that they both have sympathetic backstories of not belonging or growing up without resources and kind of found each other through that.
Let's be clear. You're talking about the scion of the Breen Imperium not having resources.
Well, he's like not good at what he does. He's like the ugly duckling of the Breen.
So the ugly prince.
Yeah, the ugly prince and the pauper princess. Yeah.
I just think
you're hurting this, Paul. Like you're just tearing down this thing for me.
No, I'm just saying, like, this is my problem with this episode, because like in essence, it's supposed to be the heart of the episode is supposed to be like, oh, here's this tragic moment between these characters that we hopefully liked, despite the fact they are anti-heroes, but like they're just so whiny in a way that
I hear what you're saying, actually. Like I like a rom-com.
That's not true, Choopy. That is not true. I have a lot of I have friends who are Gen Xers.
So I like a good rom-com, and so I want to root for them.
Yeah.
But I think I've said this from the very beginning. What they haven't done is they just haven't given us enough character development to really draw us into these characters. Like they've given us a little bit, so you have this whole episode where I guess we were supposed to fall in love with Maul and Locke, and I think part of what's blocking me from really like taking stock is that the one character that we're tied to, Book, she keeps rejecting, right?
Yeah.
So I think if they had made that relationship a little bit different and more like, oh, you are kind of like the big brother I always wanted but never had, then her tragedy and her hurt probably would hit a little harder, right? But what they've done is they've completely isolated her, so she's now just a villain. And you're trying to get me to care about a villain.
Yeah, I think I would have liked if seeing, and I know why we didn't for like budget reasons, because it would have been building another set, but it would have been like if I had seen the moment that she decided to put out the SOS, because to me that is like she ran out of options, and that's like a big feels like a big emotional choice there. But I thought the reveal that they had kind of like eloped was interesting, and obviously not supported by the Breen. I wanted to ask y'all, do you so like they definitely didn't talk to that other Breen royal family, right? Like that was totally a bluff.
Yeah, that's totally BS.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But I thought it was smart. I thought it was a smart choice.
No, I thought so too.
I'm also just like, do these other Breens not have any way to be like, can someone call up this other family? Like, is anyone like a secret spy?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to really call them up because the last thing you want to do is to get them involved.
Show your hand. Yeah.
And especially, you don't want them to know what you're doing. You don't want them to know that you know what they're doing, and you don't want them to come in and then really get a bidding war. That's so it's kind of like, well, I'm just going to step back, but
yeah. Oh, you know what I just thought of? The way we would have all probably been rooting more for Maul and Locke if we had a short trek that was just one of their little adventures that showed their love for each other.
Yeah, no.
I would say more than that, we needed to see the true, I guess, the development of their relationship. What we got was like she's showing up, and it was like one day she's doesn't like him, and then the next day she does. Like,
well, I think that was supposed to be a longer passage of time.
Yeah, it didn't connect. Like it didn't really get, like I needed, I don't know, a Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan montage, right? Or something where they're, picking groceries and going to dinner and, having a true meet cute, something that shows me the evolution of them actually falling in love, like that. And I didn't get that. So like I'm rooting for them to figure it out, but I didn't feel myself emotionally attached. Like when he died, I was kind of like, kind of didn't want him to die, but okay.
Like when he died, I was like, yeah, what do you think was going to happen?
No
it's
sympathy.
It's such a bad plan. Like, oh, well, here's what you do: run out and find a shuttlecraft. You are in the year 3000. What?
It was a bad plan.
What do you think is going to happen? This is not a good plan. Like, it would be much better if they just tried to escape from a brig, like, later. But like, while he's hooked up to the IV, and then goes, oh, give me more.
I think it is that like moment of when you are that desperate, though, that is when stupidity comes in, right? It's like you're not making good choices when you think everything is on the line like that.
Yeah, maybe. His plan was, I'm gonna partially OD. They're gonna come in, you're gonna leave, you're gonna get to a shuttle, and you're gonna come. How am I in my partially OD state? How are you gonna get me out of this? Like
she's gonna beam his partially OD'd ass into the shuttlecraft, and they're gonna fly off. And like, I don't know.
It's a bad plan, but they're young and in love.
I will say this. I will say this.
Right?
It is absolutely consistent within their characters because they're reckless. Right. They're really reckless, and so I really get that. I really get they're reckless, but but they need to be like really good too. And I don't see them being really good. You see it in the beginning when they go, "Oh, well, my plan got messed up. I'm gonna cause a landslide and like force you guys to deal with that." I go, totally cool. Like, like that, like, is that villainous? Sure. but like I can see how someone could come up with that. But like throughout the other episodes, all they've done is really go like we don't know anything about Romulan
Poetry.
haikus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we buy a space bug, a time bug. And you know like and then our ship gets screwed up and we get trapped into like this pocket universe. And I don't know. I'm just anyway. It's not my favorite. I
Not a
apologize.
fan of Maul and Locke.
Yeah,
Nope.
Well,
yeah.
then outside of Maul and Locke, how do we feel about now the setup essentially that Discovery has to outrace the Breen to all of these final clues? And do we think that's actually a fair, like, do we think Maul knows anything of use at this point? Because it feels like we're so many clues ahead of them.
Well, like Discovery has all 4 pieces, and they need the
Yeah.
5th piece,
Mhm.
and then they're gonna jump. Like what I don't understand is how the Breen are gonna track them.
Right.
They said something about tracking their jump signature.
But what does that mean? Like
The same way
like
you track a warp signature.
Mhm. Oh, they were here. I mean, it's interesting. I didn't know you could do that with Spore Drive, but
yeah,
okay.
but like it's 800 years. But like, so what if they like jump to like the far side of the galaxy?
And then
You
jump
know,
back.
and then have the Breen like take their time there, and then or
Mhm.
jump all around. Like like what?
Yeah, I know Maul had the book, but now Maul does not have the book. P. Lewis brings
Yeah.
up, and so I wonder how much of it she was, because was she able to translate it? Like those are all like questions that we have left to ponder of how useful is Maul going to be to the Breen, and then also is the Breen going to trust anything she says, and then like is she? I get this isn't a question for y'all. For Maul, is there really anything that's going to work out for her? Because like even if she has some semblance of clues, does she really think the Breen are going to just like not kill her at the end once they have all the pieces? Like
What if
that's my
she's
question.
what if she's pregnant?
I saw someone mention that in the chat.
Mhm.
That is very interesting because then would that be the rightful heir to the throne?
Would be. I mean, it's one of those things. We see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like in history with interracial relationships. It's like, well, I'll never accept you. But then the kid comes along. It's like, well, I'm still probably not really going to accept you. But because this is the kid, I'll accept the kid or not, but I'll accept the kid and I will tolerate you. So I'm not going to kill you, but I'll tolerate you. Like that could happen.
Yeah,
It is
I don't know.
interesting that, they did scans when they got on board though, and Culber was like, "Oh yeah, she's like a little starved and dehydrated, but overall she's fine."
But not pregnant.
Yeah.
But
Fair.
to be fair, like she has that cloaking technology in her body.
She's just like cloaking the uteri.
Like I actually think it's going to be a happy ending. I think like like Jellyface or Jellyman. I don't know. Like Locke is going to come back from the dead. Discovery is going to drop them in some colony in the Gamma
Yeah.
Quadrant, and happily
With
ever
Book.
after.
With Book.
Say again?
And drop him with Book. So he'll
Yeah, I hope
finally,
so.
stop tripping.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that is interesting is they've definitely been leaning hard on this idea that this technology could potentially raise the dead, right? So
Mhm.
it's like they've set up the motivation for Maul is like she wants to go find this to be able
Mhm.
to revive her now dead lover.
Like it would be really neat if like they use it to remake Qui-Gon. I'm just
That
saying.
would be
Like, I'm just saying,
interesting.
like
Nice.
if it's such super technology, I mean, the
Is that what's going to finally motivate? Is that going to be the ultimate motivator for Book that essentially like
maybe
ruins his relationship? I don't
like
know.
it's well within the realm of reason, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
like Qui-Gon, like the planet mass is still there as from so like we can just I don't know what this
Just
this
Genesis project that shit.
yeah I don't know like but it would really solve Book's problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
No
so
longer just one weird sort of quasi family member left in the universe.
yeah, I mean, like it's all good. Like it's all doable, right? It's just a
Yeah.
matter of like, can we get there satisfactorily?
Yeah. Speaking of Book, I do like him and Stamets working on stuff together. Again, I was like really down for my nerds solving puzzles this episode.
Same.
And,
I'm with you,
um,
Myrriah. 100%.
Yeah, like those were all really fun scenes to me. I also enjoyed the like some of the moments of humor on like the bridge with Burnham and some of the rest of the anyway. I feel like we're starting to get back into the groove of my like crew chemistry, as I like to call
Sure.
it. But
Like
yeah.
my hot Paul is
Mhm.
like, I feel
Oh
like
wait, do you need your video? Do you want
please, please, please,
yours?
please,
Here
thank
we
you.
go. Hot Paul. Time for a hot Paul.
Woo.
I need you to send me an audio recording of you just going, hot Paul.
Hot Pauls. Like, I feel that like they tried to make this season more fun and light, and and I'm
Mhm.
all for it. I'm all for it. I will say that a lot of what I feel the character development that has happened over the last 4 years has kind of been thrown out the window, and perhaps some for the better, perhaps some for the worse. Like for example, like Burnham is no longer brooding, and I think that's good for the
Mhm.
most part. But Stamets feels very two-dimensional right now.
Mm.
I don't like, when you say I see him with like, Book, and I go like, I feel that there isn't a lot of nuance here. You just gotta solve this. We gotta solve this. And I'm like,
Yeah, I feel like they're leaning in heavy with him having to figure out what his new legacy is post the
mhm,
spore drive, and it seems to be really leaning on being able to solve these clues and complete the mission. But I
mhm,
do wish we were getting some of those, like to your point, Paul, some
mhm,
emotional beats from him about
yeah,
how he's processing legacy
yeah, like
as an idea.
totally. Like, and it might be shot and it's just on the cutting room floor,
Yeah.
or it could just be, I don't know. Like I feel like there isn't a lot of time with Paul that I feel is meaningful for the character. There's always time for him for the plot,
Mhm.
but I don't feel like it's revealing. There's a lot of Colbert, like in this
Mhm.
season, right? There's a lot of him, but for all of it, like, I don't know if it was necessary. I don't see exactly what they're trying to do with Colbert quite yet,
Mhm.
and maybe it'll wrap up in the 3 more episodes. I don't know, but like it's just interesting. Like I'm having a lot of fun watching this,
Yeah.
but I do feel that like I really want to see Saru and Trina.
Mhm.
That's the relationship I want to see the most right now. I go like,
For real. I'm with you
oh,
on that, Paul.
where are they? Like,
Yeah, I
uh,
would have liked even just like a little like hollow message, like,
mhm.
"Oh, we both, diplomated our day."
Yeah, no, like I think Vance is fine, but
Mhm.
and for all of it, what's his
Rainer.
Burnham is doing great, and Rainer is kind of one dimensional, but like you give him time,
Mhm.
I
There's a
Yeah.
lot of close-ups of his hands,
sure hands. That's
a lot
right.
of hand wringing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like I said earlier, I'm a little I'd say a little annoyed by Book trying to destroy all his credibility and relationship with Burnham each and every episode because he's so fixated on something that's
I
not
mean,
very
there's growth. It
Federation-y.
used to be much more trigger happy, I will say, with Book. Like he would
Yes.
have been like breaking Maul out of that seal before she was, zapped over to the Breen last season. So there's been growth.
So I
Yeah.
feel like Book has a very kind of low EQ. Like I feel like he's
Well,
very
for an
emotional.
empath,
Yeah,
he's an
exactly, which
empath.
is weird. Like he's very emotional and he goes with his emotions, but like but part of being like emotionally intelligent is kind of like knowing how to at least maybe not repress your emotion, but at least kind of like come to a good
He just has
working
a lot
relation.
of feelings, Paul.
I know,
Yeah, but
which is weird because I don't, I must not be able to relate to that because I must have a deficiency in feelings.
I think I'm used to Star Trek really putting this emphasis on the greater good. And in this situation, Maul said, I want to go with you. Take me with you. Right. And in that, the ultimate, if you choose not to, then what happens is like hundreds, possibly thousands or more people are gonna die because Book felt like we can't give her over. Like,
It's like, hey man, like we're gonna find a way to save her too. You know how this goes. Like,
yeah,
Well, to be fair, like and I'm not one to often defend Book, but like Book could just say, "Look, dude, like if we don't give her over, if we give her over, she's gonna tell them about the progenitor device or device, whatever, and you don't want the whole Breen Empire following all our asses to try and find this superpower, right?
right.
And and as much as like having 100 people, 1,000 people die right now, it's piddlywinks compared to like the destruction of the Federation, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like I actually agree with Book, you know, in this way.
well,
Like,
But I think they made a good point of being like, but she doesn't know where the next steps
She
are, where the
doesn't.
next clues are.
but
And
the
so
Breen
while
don't
they're
know that there's a progenitor device out there. The Breen don't know that.
Yeah, but the minute that ship showed up and Burnham's like, "Look, this is a ship from the future that we saw." What that told me was, well, you haven't done enough to stop that from happening yet. So you got to keep hustling.
Mhm.
And I think they're gonna like, it's not about them not knowing about it. They're gonna find out about it. It's about you getting it first. That's what this is about.
But if you have her, it could be both.
Not if you're dead. Not if you're dead.
That is fair. Like so like I'm
That was
not
a
I'm not
big ship. That was a
I'm just,
very big ship.
I am just saying that like I understand Book's perspective.
I
You
mean,
you can make an argument. I'm not saying
what
I agree with him because I have a high
what about
EQ.
it?
I can
Mhm.
empathize with people who are not exactly, except for like Maul and Locke apparently. So maybe my
Apparently.
EQ is pretty low.
Crazy Myrriah theory time.
You need a video, a Crazy Myrriah theory time.
I
I'm
do
sure
need
we have.
a
We had a
intro.
banner for a
We used to
while.
have a banner. Yeah. What if who they beamed over is not actually Maul? Like
How
what if they just like had Non, put on a disguise and get beamed over and is like, JK, I don't know anything.
I will buy you 3 drinks if that were the case. 3 drinks.
It is a wild theory. It's
That's right.
probably not true, but it would be fun.
But that's why I feel safe about the 3 drinks.
The 3 drinks.
Like
So
7 of limes.
expensive.
7 of limes.
I need 7 of lime.
That's right.
yeah,
49
that's
of limes.
I was gonna put up our banner, but the banner's Mariah's prediction and not Mariah's theory, and I don't quite think that you're predicting that.
No,
as
not a
much as it's just
predictus
crazy
quite yet.
theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not quite yet. Was there, I'm trying to think of anything else I really wanted to dig into. I mean, I'm excited to see if Deep Space Nine, like the station still exists on this next episode. I'm interested to use the library card in space.
That's very. I'm interested to see a space library.
See, P. Lewis agrees with me. We did not see Non at the end.
Well, you know what? You're
no.
like, P. Lewis, if it is Non, I too will get you 3 drinks.
Look here.
In fact, anyone on here right now, if who say like you think
during the live, I was going to say, Paul, we usually
live,
end up with a few hundred people who watch this, not during the live stream.
During the live right now,
yes.
If you think that that write your name in the comments and I will get you 3 drinks if it is Non, in Scarlet, in Black Widow face.
Look here, Parker Lewis can't lose. I'm not buying that at all. I'm just not in. I'm with Paul. As a matter of fact,
it's good because you're going to help me pay for the 3 drinks for everyone.
Absolutely. Now, and I'm looking. That's 12. I mean, we can go back and see who was in the live stream. So yeah. I will gladly help you with that one, Paul. If it turns out that Non is in some type of costume makeup,
sure. It like year 3000 makeup. Love it. It's possible.
I mean, we've seen Star Trek characters transform into many other people and races before.
They're called changelings
all the time.
Listen,
that's what
I'd
they
be
need.
really
they need
disappointed.
A changeling
security guard.
Exactly. They need a
like Deep Space Nine.
Like
You didn't see that? You didn't see that coming, Paul? I saw it. Like I just put my head down because I saw exactly where we were going.
My final question of the night is Discovery, Modern Trek, Deep Space Nine?
Well, here's something that is very interesting that I didn't realize watching.
Which shout to just to cite my sources, Den of Geek for the great breakdown on the year 2371, where a lot of my Deep Space Nine theories have come from for this episode.
I'll jump in here, Paul, for a quick second to say, I think that there's some elements in this season that they're giving some homage to Deep Space Nine. I don't know if it's modern Deep Space Nine, but if you think you have more seasons to come, you're like, oh well, we can spend some time just
hanging out and referencing Deep Space Nine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like for me, I've been trying to avoid work this last week, so I've been watching a lot of Deep Space Nine. I'm like, I can't deal with it. Like, that's my go-to. And I was like, oh, like Deep Space Nine was a lot more woke than I realized. Like,
I think it's the one that holds up the best to modern
100%,
standards.
100%. Like, but like it comes down from a diversity standpoint. Like where does the white guy come in? Like at the chain of command, he's the mechanic. Like it's such a
and
diverse.
He's a union man.
Yeah. Like and Voyager does pretty much the same. Like so it's a very interesting like. And I never noticed this. I never like it's so invisible to me at the time. It was just like, oh well, here are space people. They're doing great.
Here are space people. They're doing great. That should be our new catchphrase.
I mean, I want that on a mug.
Yeah,
here are space people. They're doing.
We can get
great.
that on a mug for you.
I was like, I can add it to our merch shop.
That's right. But like, I was going like, oh yeah, I guess in the 90s it's pretty like pretty progressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how invisible it was to me.
It's a nice thing to realize later, right?
That the
it's why they won a Peabody. Did you see the Star Trek franchise as a whole won a Peabody this week?
No.
Eventually, like the franchise won a Peabody for its massive work over the decades.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Good for them.
A Peabody achievement in media for Star Trek. Really great. I think that's all I wanted to chat about. Was there anything else in this episode?
Anything else? The karate, OOD, Reno, like super spy, super everything. No, I have to say that ship was really big.
It was so big.
It was
because the headquarters is big.
Yeah,
and that was like it. That reminded me of Star Trek 2009 big spaceships. And
I'm thinking how much power did that thing use?
Right.
I mean, it's a moon basically. It's a Death Star.
The better question is, if it's that big and can do those things, how much power can it generate? And that should scare the hell out of you.
Yeah, no,
it's pretty wild.
I agree with PW Gregory though. More Reno. I want more
Reno. Hopefully some space battles. I did really enjoy all of the ship beauty shots this episode. I thought those were cool.
Have we had, other than the first episode, have we had any space battles?
No, we haven't really had any. We've had lots of hand-to-hand, but no space battles.
Oh, I also want to say I really like Breen transporters.
Oh, the Zappins?
Like it kind of zoop,
zoop.
Zoop.
They're like a copy machine.
Or it looks, they look like basically warlocks.
A bunch of with the staffs.
Exactly. So and for all of it, it could have gone very badly. But I'm digging it. And I have to say, I was watching the episode the second time, I go oh, this episode is very well lit. So
I know, in an era of dark television, thank goodness. Thank you, gaffers and DP on this shoot.
Well, especially if everybody's gonna be in all black, it's you. I want to see the nuances, the detail of their kind of uniforms, and you need to be well lit to see that. So,
and just to note, Myrriah, only P. Lewis has, like supported you.
Yeah,
As
we're
far
gonna
as
get our 6 drinks. Me and P. Lewis. We hanging out at Red's. We're waiting for you.
Yeah.
Get ready.
I think the cool thing is how many bars will be named Reds in the future because of Star Trek.
That would be
We'll
fun.
see.
That would be fun. All right,
Okay,
y'all. You let us know what you think. You let us know if Paul needs to buy you a drink after the finale airs, and we find out that Nan was secretly in costume the whole time. Ha ha ha! You can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple as well as Spotify. Give us those 5 stars. We appreciate it. You can find all the links to anywhere to find us at StarTrekPod.co as well as a link to our Patreon. You can follow us on Twitter and over on Instagram. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.